What's up, Buff Nation, and welcome into the Buff Blitz. It's a Monday night, and I'm here, of course, with my co-host, Dave. Dave, how's it going? How's your Christmas week starting off?
Hey, it's off to a great start, and it's amazing that our Buffs, we're getting great news throughout the day. I can't wait to talk about all this, preview a little bit of the Alamo Bowl coming up here on Saturday. It's crazy, Russ. All this, it's finally going to be here. It still hasn't hit me yet. The Buffs are coming into town. What a perfect way to finish off the season.
Yeah, they just landed in town not that long
Yeah.
ago. Saw the updates. They're riding in style. They're staying in style. How far away from San Antonio are you?
I'm in San Antonio. I'm about 15 minutes from the Alamo Dome, so not very
Nice.
far at all. Just a quick drive down the highway. So it's going to be fun being at the game. And if you haven't been to the Alamo Bowl, anybody that's coming, or Alamo Dome, wonderful venue. And thank God it's indoors. It's going to be climate controlled, whether it's too hot or too cold. You never got to worry about that at the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps with our team. I think because being able to pass the ball around, we're not going to have to deal with the elements whatsoever. So glad that that's happening. Glad that they're there. Really quickly, I think we want to talk about kind of the personnel stuff that happened. Obviously, we got one commit today officially, potentially two if the crystal ball works out for Max Harris.
Yeah.
But the one commit that we got today was the offensive lineman from Texas A&M, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on him? I talked about him. I know you've talked to your audience about him. What are you thinking as far as what is his role going to be?
Yeah, who knows? But I love the size. Again, 6'4". I've seen 315. I've seen 330. Aki Agunbaye, I believe is how you pronounce his
Is
name.
it? Oh, I was not even close earlier. I was not even close.
Ogumbaye. So it's going to take a little while, but a guy that didn't play much this past year, but has a lot of experience. I mean, he's been playing at A&M since 2020. So I think at worst, Russ, like it's great having a 23-year-old coming in here, especially with a massive leadership void. I mean, there's no way around it. We're losing a lot of leaders this year. And so I love the fact that we're bringing in an older player. I think that he'll compete for playing time. Again, I never want to be in the situation to where we have to start a freshman or a walk-on, anything like that. If injury were to happen, and the more depth that we get, the smaller chance that we have of rolling out a 280-pound left guard in the future. Never want to repeat what we had to go through in 2023. So I like it. He's played a lot of guard. He looks like he can play a little bit of tackle. We'll see where he ends up competing. But right now, hey, I'm open-minded. I like the move. What about you?
Yeah, so I read up that there was actually a couple blogs on some of their websites that they had talking about him. I guess the thing that I read up on him, especially when he entered the transfer portal, there was a lot of high hopes for him. He had some good early years. And then I guess he had a pretty bad injury in 2022, and he never really got his spot back, recovered well enough to be back in the lineup and to continue his upward trend. And that's where it just kind of went down from there. So there is some upside to him. There's obviously the experience to him playing in the SEC, getting to come here. I'm excited. I'm just glad that we have at least some more depth on the offensive line. So that's two interior offensive linemen. Still waiting on that tackle that we really desperately need, like that true tackle. And I'm wondering if we probably get it in the second run of portal players here in the next couple weeks, or even the spring, I guess. I don't know. Like, do you think
it's got to be coming soon, man? We got to at least bring in one during this winter portal period. I got a question for you, Russ. I can't seem to get a straight answer on it at all. What is the injury to Philip Houston?
Philip Houston?
Yeah.
That I have no idea. I have no clue what it was that he missed that. Remember, we don't know anything about Colorado injuries. Like, we don't get any information. We don't get told what they injured. We still don't know what Jimmy Horn injured, let alone the fact that he's just been missing games. There's been all the speculation, but like, we just don't know, what these injuries are. No idea.
Because I'll put it this way. If Philip Houston's injury isn't serious, then it's like, okay, maybe we only need to bring in one guy in addition to Smith to compete at right tackle position. But let's say it is a serious injury, and instead of him having another offseason in the strength and conditioning program here, hopefully to get closer to that 300-pound, I think, size that we would like to have our right tackle playing at minimum, probably won't get there if you're rehabbing, if it's a serious injury. So that's something that I just have no idea. But I'm hoping that we can bring in at least a couple guys to compete, because again, I think that as excited as I am for some of our freshmen here already this past week, you want them to beat out the competition. You don't want to have to force them out there because, the competition just, it's not there, right?
No, exactly. I think that's exactly where we're at when it comes to that. I'm not worried yet, Dave. I've been telling everybody on my streams I'm not worried. I've heard some of your streams, like, reminding people that the times that we've got our best players out of the portal is that second wave, late first portal, and then spring portal. It's not really this first wave of early portal entries that we get our big time players. And so the fact that we got Jaheim Otis out of the first kind of round and a couple others that are going to be impactful players is good, but we don't need to panic just yet when it comes to the portal. And so, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going on. Dave and Russ, thoughts on what Miss T did the team hotel in San Antonio? How does the recruit not come to Colorado? Don't get me started on the double Rolls Royce plane. So just FYI, it's not a Rolls Royce plane. Just FYI. Okay, I'm a little bit of an AV geek. That's just the type of engine. That's like what those planes. I mean, they flew on an old school Delta retired 777.
Are we going to get like some live flight simulator streams on Buff News Weekly? Is that how much of a
not happening
nerd you are? No,
not happening. But I'm just saying, I saw some people on Twitter be like, oh, they've got a custom Rolls Royce plane. There's no such thing as a Rolls Royce plane, just FYI. But they flew a very nice plane with some much needed upgraded business class on it. Now, did everybody fly in business class? No. There was some coach flying for some of the team, including Julian Lewis sitting in a middle seat next to Jordan Seaton and Justin Mayers. Yep. That was hilarious to see.
Yeah, man, that cracked me up. Hey, side note, Russ, man, why did we get rid? Was it the 757 that had the 2 aisles and then like the 5 seats in the middle of the plane? I feel like I would fly those as a kid every now and then from O'Hare out to DIA.
I mean, that would be the old configurations of like a 777 or even like a double-decker 747. They used to do like the 4 and 5 in the middle.
Yeah, why don't we have those anymore? What the heck?
Well, not comfortable. Who wants to sit 5 wide in the middle anymore? That's for sure. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that. Okay, so we've got the news about Aki. We've got the news that it looks like Max Harris is going to join Colorado. He's been offered. He's been crystal balled already. I haven't seen any official confirmation that he's coming. I'm assuming he is, just based on everything we're hearing. So what are your thoughts on Max Harris, on what you've seen and how he plays into the linebacker room for Colorado?
Yeah, I love how this year in the portal, whether it's high school or transfers, I just love the fact that we're getting a lot of Texas guys. I just have obviously a bias towards that, but a converted safety. I think he was at ULM 2 years ago, if I'm remembering correctly. So a converted safety where he just put up a ton of tackles. And then you saw him convert to linebacker this year against or at Texas State. Seemed to be putting up some good numbers. He had a very low missed tackle rate, so high tackle rating. We'll see. we'll see where he ends up right now in the competition for the starting linebacker positions. I still would imagine we add another linebacker or two in the portal. I feel really great about Reggie Hughes kind of having the the one up, or he'd be a guy that I would put as like the favorite to be one of the starters. But outside of that, I think Max will compete with Jeremiah Brown, Jalen Wester right now, and whoever else we bring in. Remember, Nikai Hill-Green wasn't a guy who got here until the summer this past year. And so I still think there's going to be plenty of time to go after and get some more linebacker talent. And I think Max would still have a couple years of eligibility left. So I love the move. Again, I feel like we've had good success bringing up a handful of players from the G5 ranks, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how he does. I think Reginald Hughes, I think that was a great get as far as linebacker goes. I think he can slot in as a starter. We'll see with Max Harris how he transitions and works the next couple of months. He has some upside, but he doesn't have the same level of production that like Reginald Hughes obviously has at the same level. So I could see, him maybe being a little bit more of a depth piece coming in this year. A lot of people in the chat are bringing up the other thing we were going to talk about when it comes to personnel, which is obviously the rule change with the junior college players. For those of you that don't know, I have a video I put out last week when it broke, explaining what it means, talking about the court case, going in depth into what the ruling talked about, what it could change in the future. And today we got confirmation that the NCAA, which they always do when this happens, takes a couple days, but then they eventually just say, okay, we lost the one lawsuit. Now we're just going to say, we're just going to change the rule because we don't want to have to deal with another lawsuit, because there was rumors of that coming from some, junior college players that were mad that, the quarterback got the, exemption, but they didn't. And so we have this rule now. There's a number of players on Colorado that could potentially use this rule and come back another year. The big one that we've been talking about this week is Preston Hodge. What are your thoughts on Preston Hodge coming back to play another year, and where does he fit in then in the DB room? And could that be a little bit of a sign of why we're not going after any of the big name DBs in the transfer portal right now?
Yeah, maybe it's why we've had trouble getting a primarily slot corner out here. I love the idea of Preston Hodge returning. I don't see why he wouldn't. With given another year of eligibility. There's been some other guys on the team that have played Juco, but I don't know if it really matters or affects them at all. Because, like, for instance, Kareem Harden was coming back next year regardless. Like, he still had a year of eligibility. So with this ruling, from how I understand it, if you're out of eligibility and you played junior college in the past, you can play this following year. That's how I understand it, Russ, correct?
Yeah, correct. So just FYI, because I know I got a comment here that it's only an additional year coming out of Juco, not necessarily. So what it is specifically, and this is what the NCAA board's waiver states. So this is the official statement from the NCAA. The waiver is for those athletes who attended and competed at a non-NCAA school for 1 or more years to remain eligible and compete in the 25-26 season if those student athletes would have otherwise used their final season of competition during this past 24-25 years and meet all the other eligibility requirements required of a student. That means that anybody that played this year and no longer has eligibility, Preston Hodge, Justin Mayers, guys who have a year or more of junior college who this year were done with eligibility, so they can't play next year, can now play next year and are granted their eligibility years back based on the number of years they were in Juco. So if somebody played 2 full years in Juco and then 2 years at the power forward or NCAA level, they're going to get 2 years back. The other ones will get 1 year back. So yes, it does include a Preston Hodge. It does technically include now a Justin Mayers if he wanted to come back, which honestly, Dave, if I'm thinking about that, he might want to as well, because I don't see him being an NFL prospect at this point with how his season went. So
Well,
that could be another one.
He did get a Hula Bowl invite.
Okay.
That broke
That's
today.
Good.
So he's accepted that. We'll see if this ruling changes that. I would love to have Mayers back. I think that would be fantastic.
I mean, the thing is, he can go to the Hula Bowl. He can get a draft grade. I mean, remember, It used to be that if you entered the draft, you got an agent, you became ineligible. That's not the case anymore. They all have agents now from the beginning, the get-go in high school. So there's no, like, he could easily go to that event, find out from the scouts there that, hey, we don't really have a draft grade on you. And then he could come back again if he wanted to. So there is that potential there. But I do think that Preston Hodge has the most to gain to come back. Going into the year, everybody was like, he's an NFL caliber DB. He started off strong. The injury really, I think, hurt his momentum down the stretch. So to get another year where he could come in, get tape, hopefully not have that injury, that's going to be my hope of what can happen with him, and hoping that he can come back, raise that draft stock, make a little bit of money in NIL. And we sure up the defensive backfield, because now you're just replacing Travis with, Colton Hood, and your 3 defensive back starters are DJ, Preston, and Colton Hood, which I think a lot of people would have taken this year. They liked what they saw when those 3 were in, and you add those and maybe 1 or 2 transfer guys to compete, and I think you got a pretty good defensive backfield to go.
Yeah, man, I think having Preston back would be massive for the defense, and it's one less starter that you'd have to replace. Hopefully we can still snag Ethan O'Connor from Washington State. He still would have a handful of years of eligibility left, and I think that would give you some really solid, then you're starting to feel good. It's like, okay, we got 4 really good corners. I'm sure we bring in some more. But yeah, if we can land him in Bayard, we'll see how it all, transpires. But Preston Hodge, particularly coming back, would be huge. And again, I would love to see Justin Mayers return. Whenever you can have a returning starter that's going to be 24 years old, I will always take that. Again, that's one of the reasons programs like BYU and Utah, for that matter, have been really good in the past, is because sometimes, man, they got a whole bunch of 23, 24, 20, 25-year-old guys that have been gray shirted, that have been red shirted. They're coming back from their missions, and then they're, beating up on 19, 20-year-olds. I would love that. I think that him, Benson, I know that, hey, they weren't all conference offensive linemen this year. But again, you see guys, once they're drafted in the NFL, still not hit their prime at whatever position they're at till later on in their 20s. You're telling me that Justin Mayers and Khalil Benson still can't get better in college football? Yeah, I'm not buying that. I think they totally can.
Yeah, so somebody in the chat had mentioned Justin Mayers. I just looked it up. He didn't go to junior college. I think they're getting confused thinking UTEP is a junior college when UTEP is not a junior college, and that's the only other school he's been to.
Wait, he didn't go to Juco before that?
No, I show 4 years at UTEP.
Oh, yeah. Who thought UTEP was a Juco?
That was a little bit of a unless. I can't tell. I don't know if the site I'm looking at is right or not. We'll have to take a look at it and see. But I don't think he does. I think, Preston Hodge, I know for sure did his freshman year. He went to Navarro College, the junior college in Texas.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where Preston Hodge went. So On3 says, the basement says On3 has him at Reedy College. I'm not seeing it in his bio at
Reedy
UTEP or his others. Is that his high school? Yeah, that's Reedy High School. That's Reedy High School.
I don't see any Juco. So sorry for the fake news, guys.
Yeah. So this is interesting news. We're happy to talk about it. I'm going to be very interested to see how it plays out and who surprises us with eligibility. Because at this point, I just don't know who's eligible anymore. I don't think anybody does. Every year it's a surprise that somebody comes back, or, we all thought Nakai Hill-Green was done with eligibility, I think. And all of a sudden he has another year that we didn't pay attention to all year. So go figure. I don't know. At this point, I'm just gonna wait and see who's here come the summer workouts, and then determine what a roster is at this point.
I know, man. It's a mess. I wish that. I feel like players just need to declare, at the end of every season if they're coming back or not, right? Like a recommitment post. Yeah, at this point, Bentley's a good example of a guy who's playing his sixth year of college football and finally, having that level of success that you wanted to see from him. Again, who's to say that can't be Kareem Harden taking that jump this year, or Khalil Benson, or this new offensive lineman we're bringing in here, Aki Ogunbayi. I screwed it up. But y'all understand, man. I don't care. I don't care if you're 23 years old. Like, there's still plenty of time for you to get better at football, especially at the college ranks.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. Let's get into the moment that I think everybody's been waiting for, which is, let's finally talk about this bowl game. We're finally in bowl week. The team is in San Antonio. They're going to be practicing there all week. We are prepping for the BYU Cougars out of Utah. Dave, just on first glance, without us really diving too much into the stats and stuff, what is your expectations of this game and what you think that BYU is going to bring or offer to the table in this matchup?
I think it's going to be a competitive game. We haven't really had a lot of players hit the portal that are like impact players for us right now outside of Nakai Hill-Green. And I don't really think BYU has either. They've retained a lot of their talent. And so, I think that we're going to get their best shot. We're going to be running on, full steam, so to speak. Entertaining offense. It's a lot different than ours, but they have they involve a lot of motion. They can run some triple option, some speed option. Jake Retzlaff, I think that he's a pretty scrappy, good quarterback. Not the most efficient guy, but he really can make plays, especially when the pocket breaks down. And so, again, similar to a lot of these Big 12 teams, hey, stop the run, see if Jake Retzlaff can beat you with his arm. I think that's probably the easiest path to victory. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially in the first half, because they are going to be missing their second best receiver for the entire half due to a suspension from their last game. So Darius Lassiter will be missing the entire first half due to an unsportsmanlike conduct suspension from the last game of the season. So that's a big, big time part. So if we can get them passing early and often, they really have just their one big target in Chase Roberts, 843 yards, 4 touchdowns. Lassiter is 679 yards, 4 touchdowns. So very similar to each other, probably a 1A, 1B type receiver core. When it comes to what I think is going to happen this game, obviously, Dave, every game this year, we have gotten the other team's best. It is everybody's Super Bowl. They know the eyes are going to be on them. They know what's being said about them. They know what's happening. And I think they want to come out there and really prove something. So we're never going to get somebody's, off day. It's just not going to happen. So I don't see this game being a blowout. I don't see this game, being skewed one way or the other. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. I think it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be an entertaining game, and probably thus far, one of the most entertaining college football games we've had since the conference championships, since the playoffs were a bust first round. And I'm assuming that most of the bowl games between now and our game are probably going to be a bust, just looking at who's playing and what's going to be happening and whether or not players will be opting out. The good news is that we are not having players opt out. Coach Prime just spoke at the Alamo press conference, by the way. Shador and Travis have the largest insurance plan for this weekend's game that has ever been taken out on 2 players.
See, that's what
Coach
I'm talking
Prime,
about. Yeah.
He confirmed that. He said they're playing in full. It is a full-on game. You're not going to spend that much on insurance just to not play, okay? So they are covered in the case of catastrophic injury. They're both ready to go and compete. On top of that, they just it's finishing what you started. The culture that they have built at CU does not want these guys to go out there and just no, this is what they've been playing for. As bad as it sounds, would a conference championship have been great? Would the playoffs have been great? Yes. But at the beginning of the season, you and I, everybody in Buffs land, the team itself had the goal of getting to a bowl game. And if you're going to get to a bowl game, you want to win that bowl game when it comes to that goal. And so I don't think that we are going to play down. We are going to come out, I think, with some fire. And as long as BYU matches it, it's going to be a fantastic game back and forth. And honestly, it could be anybody's game to win.
Yeah, I think, again, this bowl game, it takes everything that we've been working for 2 years, and it's all kind of put on this game. I mean, from it being Shador and Travis's and all the other seniors last game to
that's it.
You know, the promise that Coach Prime has made Miss Peggy on, hey, getting her a bowl game win. You know, it's been 20 years since we've won a bowl game in general, you know, so it means a lot to the program. It means a lot to just closing out the legacy of you know, the players involved in these first 2 years. And yeah, there's still so much to play for. There's some not personal records, I guess, but just some statistical things to keep in mind. I think Shador is slightly under 80 yards passing away from eclipsing 4,000 on the year. He has 35 passing touchdowns. I think he's got a few rushing, so he very well could eclipse 40 total touchdowns on the season this year with this game. And then Travis Hunter is only 8 receptions away from 100 on the season. So we'll see how all that goes. So still a lot to play for from like a statistics standpoint on top of it that I find pretty interesting. And again, these guys want to go out with a win. 2 Celebration Bowl appearances for Coach Prime, the 2 years at Jackson State, both times lost. I think it was to SC. Was it North Carolina Central or South Carolina Central? I forget. But this is going to be his opportunity to win his first bowl game as well. You know, let's close this thing out the right way, get this victory. I think the team's locked in.
Yeah, that's my big thing. I think they're absolutely locked in. They will be locked in. I think they are. They're treating this like their Super Bowl. You know, all season it's been, let's play to this point. Now we're here. Let's put our best foot forward. Now, when it comes to the teams and just a couple of information pieces, so obviously our biggest loss was Nakai Hill-Green from the portal. BYU has lost a couple of starters. They lost their starting defensive tackle to the portal, John Nelson. They lost their starting safety, Crew Wakely, to the portal. They've lost a couple other players. They did lose a linebacker who had 142 snaps, about the same as Deion Hayes, so not that big of a difference maker. And same with another wide receiver, Cody Epps. So they haven't lost too much, just those 2 starting players. We lost 1 starting player, somewhat evened out when you think about it. As far as injuries go, it looks like they are dealing with some injuries on the offensive line. I don't know if those players will be back or not. It looks like that during the final game, their starting right tackle missed, and his backup, oh, by the way, this name's going to sound familiar, his backup, Isaiah Jada, also missed the last game of the season injured. So no clue on if they're going to be around or come, but hey, he might have a redemption game. It might be time for Isaiah Jada to have his revenge against Colorado if he gets the start at right tackle and has to go against Sam Okunlola and Arden Walker out there. But
oh man, how about Taj McCoy? Yeah, let's see if he ended up getting both of those knee replacements. Never seen a guy in his early 20s just be in need of 2 knee replacements like Jada was last year against UCLA. That was a tough one to watch, man.
Yeah, and on our end, we have a couple injuries. We know that Jimmy Horn's playing. Okay.
Good.
Omarion Miller said he was going to play. He hasn't been practicing. He's been sitting out. I don't think Coach Prime lets him play in the game, but that's just me. He's very cautious. It seems like Jimmy snuck out and did 1 play against Oklahoma State, and Coach Prime yelled at him. So I don't think that's going to happen. The other ones that I noticed even today, obviously Preston Hodge has not been dressing all week in practice. So my guess is he's not ready to go. The other one that worried me today in the most recent well-off video last night from yesterday's practice, Amari McNeil still did not dress out, and he missed the last game. And he would be a massive loss on that defensive line because he was coming on at the end of the year next to Chidozie and that interior defensive line. We could really use him for this game.
Will Chidozie and Shane Cokes play?
Well, Shane Cokes did return in the last game of the season, so my guess is yes. And we haven't heard anything of Chidozie sitting out. So I don't think he's opting out either. I don't think he would. He's not the type of guy that wants to. He looked like he was locked in all week. He was practicing. So my guess is he's playing in the bowl game. So the other thing that I don't think we fail to mention, Dave, when it comes to why I think Colorado's going to have a good game. This is the final chance for guys like Jimmy Horn, LeJontay Wester, Will Shepherd. I said this on my show, and when I was at that Oklahoma State game, Dave, the amount of times that Shedeur passed up wide open players to force feed Travis the ball was absolutely insane. And it was to get Travis the Heisman. It was to make sure Travis won the Heisman. The Heisman has been won. So we do not need to force feed Travis unless he's open. So I think that Shedeur spreads the ball out. I think he tries to focus on those three guys that really need to help their draft stock. And I think that, I think we will pass it a lot. I don't think we're going to run the ball, Dave. I really don't think we're going to run the ball at all, if any.
Yeah, well, I think that, hey, you'll probably see, 25, 30% of these plays be runs. Yeah, like go and throw the ball around. This is the last time, like, our wide receivers, they're going to be here. It's sad. So, yeah, all these guys need their moments, especially Jimmy with most of this year being out due to injury. Want to see him do well. And this is a question I got for you, Russ. Do you think that we'll possibly see like some of the young guys who redshirted? Let's talk about guys like Brandon Hood or Brandon Davis Swain. You think we might see them? Hey, do you think we might see more Isaiah Hodge at running back? I mean, that dude's got he's more elusive than some of the other running backs we got in the backfield right now. I'd like to see what those guys can bring.
I have a good feeling that we're going to see some pretty good creativity when it comes to not only the personnel, but the plays that we run. Because this is it. It's the last game of the season. Empty the playbook. If there's anything you haven't run, empty it out. Could we see some trickery where, we do a reverse pass? Could we see a flea flicker at some point during this game, to a Travis or a Jimmy? Like Jimmy would be perfect. Just blaze up the field, flea flicker, throw it deep to him. I have a feeling we're going to see that. And so I wonder if we are going to see guys like, who I want to see just play the one game this season. And I don't know if he's healthy, but Cam Michael. Cam Michael, I would love to see him play at least one game. I do agree that I think Isaiah Hodge is going to feature a lot in this game at times. I think they're going to, again, creatively play him in the game, whether as a receiver in motion, part of that maybe triple reverse or end around, lining him up in the backfield, maybe two running backs again. I just hope that we see some, creativity when it comes to that play calling, because again, it's the last game of the season. You don't have to hold anything back. We know that next year the team is going to be probably a very different offense. So there's no need to hold anything back at this point. And I want to believe deep down that there is still some things that they were holding for a conference championship had we got there, the playoffs had we got there, waiting for that moment. And it never came, obviously. And so now it's like, okay, this is your moment to now throw the kitchen sink at this game and see what you can put out there defensively and offensively. So I'm excited to see that. It does look like, Cam Michael has been tweeting, excited about the game. He's been dressed at practice, doing things with the team again. Everybody has now. I would love to see us use him, at some point in this game. But again, if we do what we're supposed to do, hey, maybe we start the second half with an all young lineup with Draylon Miller and Cam Michael and that group of guys out there. Harge, with Staub maybe at quarterback. That's the only reason I think Staub
for Ryan Staub.
I think that's the only reason that dude has not entered the portal, if I'm being honest. And again, I tell people this all the time. No, like, I don't have anything wrong with Staub, okay? I feel bad for the guy. I would love to see him play football. And so I think the only way he's going to play football is going elsewhere.
Yeah, let's empty the playbook, man. Let's go balls to the wall. Let's go get this win again. Cap off the season. Cap off these first 2 years the way that we wanted it to cap off with a nice bowl win. Having Shedeur Travis go, top 1, 2, top 5 in the NFL draft. We got him the Heisman, and yeah, hopefully let's put together a show in which Miss Peggy can go out a champion after this year. I love it.
We gonna carry Miss Peggy onto the field like Rudy or something, or would that maybe, like, I don't know, hurt her?
Nah, you saw her strike that Heisman pose. She's good enough for it, but man, I do wonder. Do you know if Ralphie 6 is gonna?
Ralphie's on his way. Ralphie's on his way.
Okay.
They tweeted out in the trailer saying Alamo Bowl, here we come. So you will get to see the legend that is Ralphie 6, Dave, and just maybe she can beat her run that she made in the Oklahoma State game where she went for 60 yards.
Yeah, that did give me hope. Another subpar year from Ralphie 6. Not going to sugarcoat it. I still kind of am ready to move on to Ralphie 7, but maybe she found something. Maybe she found a new gear that our previous Ralphies have just always been running at. And let's see her give a strong run here in the Alamo Bowl. We need it. But yeah, it's time to start raising some possible replacements for Ralphie. Time to move on to Ralphie 7. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I would probably agree. And I probably would guess it's not going to be a good showing because she's going to be in a new stadium that's going to be completely different to her. I can only imagine. I mean, the animal is just scared of Folsom Field. How is she going to feel being at the Alamo Bowl in some random place, having been in a trailer for what? How many hours does it take to get down to San Antonio from Boulder?
I don't know. Hopefully they sedate her. It's a long drive. Even if you're speeding, I think it's like, a 16-hour drive or something crazy like that. So yeah, sedate her, and we'll have to see. But yeah, Ralphie 6, I've only seen a few Ralphies in my lifetime, but I know this Ralph is young, but the first returns right now. Sorry, I'm going full dark side, man. It's been the worst Ralphie I've seen in my lifetime. So
it's hard. It's hard, Dave, because Ralphie 5 was so good that they had to retire her early because she was too powerful, too scary, and too strong. That's kind of we went the opposite way on that. We went and found a very soft Ralphie.
Yeah. You see, man, these Ralphie Wranglers, they're not nearly as stressed, man, with Ralphie 6 as they were in the past. So maybe Ralphie 6 has found a new edge. I would love that.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get to the end. Let's talk about our predictions. Who we think are going to be the player of the game's offense, defense. Dave, let's have you go first. Who's going to be your offensive player of the game?
Give me Shedeur Sanders.
How many? What's he putting up?
5 touchdown passes so he can reach 40 on the year.
Okay, hey, they're gonna try and get him those records. So I don't know how many he's away from the. I think he needs more than 5. But hey, I like that. I'm gonna go with Jimmy Horn as my player of the game. I think they're gonna force feed him because he needs the most help out of all of those guys to get drafted. I think a good bowl game along with a good combine and, getting that 4.3 speed showing at the combine, I think that helps him out. So I think Jimmy Horn Jr. put me in for him as the player of the game on the offensive side. Defensively, I like Northside here. I'm gonna go with BJ Green. I think he's gonna have 2 sacks in the game. I think he's gonna be a menace up there, and I think he's gonna end his Colorado career off with a bang and look really good going into the All-Star games, the Combine, and then hopefully maybe getting drafted to the NFL.
I'll go with the Shark, Cameron Silman Craig.
Yes.
Getting a turnover, getting an interception. I think he'll be great in run defense as well. We'll definitely need him, man, with Mekhi Hill-Green being out. Let's see which linebackers step up. Jalen Wester, Jeremiah Brown, all those guys. I can't wait to see. But give me Cameron Silman Craig finishing the season on a really nice performance. Would love to see that. Enter in the East-West Shrine Bowl on, a really high note.
Okay. Well, Dave, what is your prediction for the game?
Shoot, give me, give me 45-31. Let's have this be a high-scoring affair.
Okay. I'm going to go somewhat similar. I had it in my head. I'm going to go 36-31.
Okay.
36.
We both got BYU scoring 31.
31. Yep. I do think they're going to score some points, but I think it's going to be mostly because they're going to be trailing and having to chase us. So that's what I think is going to happen. I do. I think we can do this. I think this offense is going to come out and have one of its best games of the season, which it desperately needs. Outside of maybe the Oklahoma State game, there's been some up and downs. So I would love to see the Oklahoma State game translate into a massive, massive game against BYU. And I think it's very similar to all the games that we've seen so far this year. And Oklahoma State was the blueprint that should have been all the other games. Mm-hmm. If you can get a 14-point lead on a run-heavy team, it forces them to pass the ball. And what happened when Oklahoma State was forced to pass the ball and get away from Ollie Gordon? Interceptions, turnovers, 4 and outs easy, incompletions. So that's the goal. That's the key to this game is get going fast on offense and don't look back.
Did you see Alan Bowman declared for the NFL draft?
Did he really? I thought he'd come back for another year.
No, he said 8 years is enough. I'm going to be declaring for the NFL draft. I'm like, buddy.
He's not going to. Well, and you and I tweeted about or texted about the other fun news, which was the massive announcement that Noah Fafita is going back to Arizona, baby.
Yeah, nobody wants a quarterback that can't see over the line. Shocker. Absolute shocker.
Like Arizona fans can actually be happy about that after this year. Like,
yeah.
There's some interesting
quarterback that's 5'10". Not highly in demand. Call me shocked. Color me shocked.
No, for real. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We're going to go a little short on this because the holidays get us out of here. But hey, appreciate everybody out there. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels. I am on the road to 4,000 before the end of the year.
Let's go.
And I'm 200 away. 200 subs away from 4,000. So if you're watching on Dave's side, jump over to my side, get that sub afterwards. It's in the description down below for Dave's video if you want to find me. Other than that, of course, hit the like on your way out. Helps us out, helps the show get out to the masses so that we can get other people watching our preview. Maybe some BYU fans can take some lessons and hear some stuff about our team that isn't just the, media crud that gets said about our team. But yeah. Any last words, Dave?
I'll be at the Alamo Bowl. Come say hi if you see me. And gonna be going live on Thursday with my friend Saturday's Warrior. Runs one of the biggest independent BYU YouTube channels. I had him on the show right after we joined the Big 12 just to talk about it. So it's been a while, and a part of the College Huddle as well. So be on the lookout for that collaboration on Thursday. He asked me to join his show. I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see that and listen, and make sure you give him a little bit when it comes to what we think of BYU right now, because they're the enemy. They're the absolute enemy. They're standing between us and that bowl victory. And,
Storming Mormons.
That's right. That's right. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to head out of here. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching tonight. And as always, Sco Buffs.
Sco Buffs. Thank you so much.